Hi everyone, the purpose of making this video is to introduce you to a database that the CSUB actually purchased. So I would like you guys to take advantage of it. This database is called the WRDS. It actually contains both CompuStat and CRISP. So, in a separate document that I'm gonna send it to you, you can read about what they are and what kind of information they provided to you. In general, CRISP is actually providing all the stock prices for company that's traded publicly in the market. You can find historical prices up to like 30 years ago. And then the CompuStar, on the other hand, provides all the necessary financial statement that you need for a particular public traded company. All right, so let me just share my screen with you so it becomes easier. So to utilize this information, you're gonna go to the WRDS, which is Wharton University Database Services. So if you don't remember the website, all you need to do is just type WRDS. It will usually bring you to this one. I mean, that's usually the first search result from Google. All right, so that will bring you to the register, the sign-in page. Over here, you need to type in. So I registered 2 class accounts, one for the section 30, the other is for section 31. So if you are in section 30, then you will need a username biz65230. Okay. And then the password is capitalized C and then SUMB 2019. Okay, and don't worry about the username and then the password. I will email this to you so you can have it on the record. Okay, so the username and password will be available to you for the whole year, essentially. So you can expect to just go back if you find the resources to be very useful. Okay, once you type in, you select login, and then that will bring you to this page. Okay, sometimes they might even have an additional page which asks you to agree to their new agreements. All you need to do is just scroll all the way down and then just click I accept. Other time, then this is what you normally will see. So this kind of shows you what we subscribe to, okay? And one of the reasons I wanted you guys to take advantage of it, because it's actually a lot, the school actually pays a lot of money to get this database available to the student. And some of you may say you can actually get the same amount of information elsewhere, like from different finance websites. The answer is true, but it's gonna be a lot easier if you do it over here, because what happens is it can actually aggregate all the data that you want and then export it to you in Excel format. So it's easy for you to kind of play around with the numbers, okay? Especially for your investment project, when you need to analyze multiple companies or multiple industry at the same time, being able to download the data together in the same format is going to really speed up the process, okay? Enough said. So basically, for financial statement, that's usually the first step, right? You wanted to see how the company is performing, so you click the CompuStat. And then over here, like I said, they will usually ask you to accept the terms, and then just say accept and agree. And then, yeah, kind of bring me back to here. So go to company financials. So the gate data is usually what you play around the most, okay? So I'm gonna go to the CompuStat, that's for my financial data, okay? And you want the North America annual updates. Notice here they actually also provide global and daily, but usually we focus on company that basically establish in North America or operate in North America, so that's what we're gonna focus on. So you click the North American annual updates, and then you're gonna go to the fundamentals annual. The difference between these annual and quarterly are really the financial statement they're pulling. So one is the annual financial statement, the other is a quarterly financial statement. Normally, I recommend students to go with the annual one because those are really the standard one. If you go with quarterly, you're gonna be really careful. Some company might be seasonal, so their quarterly number might be up and down, so not very stable. So you might want to give back, multiple years, and then maybe use those data to try to focus a future year, right, to be on the right side. All right, so we click on the fundamental annual. That's gonna bring you back to this basically query. So the first thing is you're gonna decide on your date range, okay? So you want to do either the fiscal year or, usually fiscal year works because financial statement is normally based on fiscal year. And then for the data range, I would suggest to go back for 5 years, so that will give you plenty number to work with. Just try to see if the firm actually has a tendency to grow, or if they actually are flat, or maybe they're actually going downwards. All right, so let's say so right now is 2019, mid-2019, so most likely you're gonna get fiscal year 2018, maybe some company will even have fiscal year 2019. So let's just say I wanted to start at 2013 to be on the safe side, and I want to finish at 2019, probably June, right? And it's okay to get more data than you need, because later when you export it to Excel, you can delete those unnecessary data entry. You want to search it with ticker number. That's the easiest one. The GV key and the QSIP are all really good unique identifier for the company. The reason I recommend ticker, because those are probably the familiar ones to you. They kind of give you some example. For instance, you want to do Microsoft, so that's MSFT. If you want to do Apple, that's APPL. And if you want to do Dell, that's DELL. So on and so forth. So you can type multiple ticker at the same time. So that's the advantage and how powerful this thing is. You don't have to go each firm separately. Normally, when you use finance website, they will show you the information of one company, one at a time. That takes a lot of time if you have 10, 20 companies to play with. So this way, you can actually have multiple that go together. So I'm just gonna put 3 for now. If you have like a lot, let's say if you have like 10, 20, or 100, and you don't feel like typing it individually, what you can do is you can also upload a text file which has those ticker information. But keep in mind, if you wanted to do the text file, you can only have one ticker per line. Okay, so that means I have like Microsoft and then Apple and then so on and so forth. I can't really put everything together on the same line. All right, and then you can also search the entire database if you want, but it does take a lot longer, depending on your internet speed actually. And then when you download, your file can get pretty huge actually. So I don't usually recommend students to do the entire database unless you feel very comfortable or you do want to play around with hundreds or thousands of companies. Okay, all right. So you wanted to, basically leave these basically untouched. So they're really the standard format. So just leave them untouched. So that way you don't have to play around with it later. And the only thing you do want to choose is basically the information you want the system to pull. So over here, you definitely want the system to give you company name, ticker symbol, QSIP. You also want maybe the stock exchange code. Again, that's really depending on if you want it. Stock exchange code meaning which stock exchange they're actually using. You definitely want fiscal year end. And the address normally are not very helpful unless you wanted to do any, news like that's related to address or something. Then that becomes maybe important. Most of the time, we'll just leave it unchecked. And then you probably wanted to do, let's say, kind of like international domestic flag. that might be helpful. You wanted to see if it's North American company or if it's different. And then you definitely want an industry classification, because that way you can group them together by industry if you work with multiple industry. And then you might also want to try the SIC. This is also an industry classification code. So both the industry classification code, one covers for North America only, the other one is a standard one. Most of the literature will usually use the SIC code, but again, it's really up to you. You know, feel free to use whichever that you want. And if you go down, the next thing is probably, you know, you wanted to see, you know, like the physical year. That's important. Allows you to compare items. And then, you know, let's just keep scrolling down. So, okay, so now all these are really the, you know, kind of like the data you normally see on a financial statement, but in more details. Okay, so for instance, you have like current assets, other total, you have current assets of discontinued, you know, operations, and then you have other current assets, accumulated other comprehensive assets, and so on and so forth. You have like the current assets, other total as reported. You also have total current assets, which is really a very important number on your financial statement. That's on your balance sheet. And then you have the long-term assets. You have, you know, the assets total. Okay, so again, you know, you can choose whatever the information you want. If for whatever reason that you have trouble understanding what they are, you can usually get the help using, let's see, the variable description. So over here, if you choose a variable description, they will basically show you the list of the variable along with what they are. You can also take a look at the menu and then to see what kind of information this particular database contain. You know, for right now, I'm just selecting some basic ones. And again, if you don't feel like choosing, you can also just select all if you want to do that. It's just gonna make your download process a lot longer. That's the only thing, okay? And you don't want to touch the conditional statement, okay? The next thing you need to change is the output, okay? For the query output, you want to do an Excel spreadsheet, okay? Because that's the normal format you play with. However, if you're the expert, or if in your work you use any of these databases, for instance, SAS, or if you use Data or SPSS, feel free to download in those formats, okay? And the university does have a free SAS university version for the student. So, you know, if you wanted to learn something new, you are welcome to try that, okay? SAS is really a data set processing system. It allows you to process large data set at a much faster speed. Instead of like Excel is the traditional spreadsheet processing format. It only handles relatively small data sets. And, you know, there are a lot of things that you can't really do in Excel as you can in SAS. So I do recommend if you wanted to learn on your own for SAS, but unfortunately, we don't really have time in this class to cover that, okay? But for this class, the spreadsheet will be sufficient. Okay, so we just do spreadsheet, and then you would just say, I want to submit my query. You can also save your query for future use if you think what you have is actually very standard, and then every time you're gonna put information, it's gonna be exactly the same. All right, so you know, then you just wait, okay? You don't want to cancel it. I mean, notice here, because the information I put is very little, I only have very few company, so it's very quick. It tells me I have 12 observations with 25 variables. And then when I open, you know, when I click it, it will download automatically. So this is what you're gonna see, you know, once it's all downloaded. Okay, so once you all downloaded, notice here, everything is populated on your spreadsheet. So again, you know, normally this type of information will take you a while to gather from the traditional financial statement, but with this, it's much faster, okay? So again, feel free to use it if you wanted to take advantage of this resource. Okay. All right. So let's say I don't want to do my financial data. What else can I do? The other thing you can pull from this data service center is actually the stock price. Okay. So for stock price, you will click the stock prices. And then the next thing you're gonna do is, it's gonna bring you to this page again. So you're gonna do the CRISP. So again, CRISP contains all historical stock prices for all the company that's public traded. All right, so you wanted to go to stock security files. You might want to play around with the other things, but this will be sufficient actually. For your investment project in particular, because you're doing you practice in such a short period of time, that's like a 3-week period. So I don't recommend you to use the monthly. I actually recommend you to use the daily, okay? Most of the time, and the finance classes or finance professor will recommend you to use a monthly stock file because it's more stable, okay? But for our purposes, like I said, the daily file will work much better. So same thing, you're gonna set your data range, maybe since you're doing the daily, so I would normally say the past 1 year daily returns should be more than sufficient. Okay. So over here, everything's the same. You will do ticker, and then it doesn't really matter if it's capitalized or not capitalized actually. So I'm just gonna do the Microsoft, Apple, like they suggested. Same thing, choosing the variable I want. Again, if you're not very familiar with the variable, you can always go to the variable description. That's where they're gonna tell you, okay? And normally you would say, I want, like the price for sure, that will tell you what's the closing price. The open price is the beginning price of each day. The share volume is how much, trading volume they have basically every day. And then you also have the ask and the bid, right? Ask price, the bid price. You can also check the, the return, which is also important. The holding period return contains the dividend. So you might want to try the return without the dividend for your calculation purposes, okay? So the advantage of doing this is you can get a bunch of returns, for each day for the stock. And then you can actually see the trend of the particular stock, see if you can, catch up some of the residual, what they call it, the residual momentum, okay? All right, so once you're done, same thing, you want to export it in Excel spreadsheet, and then you just submit it, and then wait till it's ready, you can download it, okay? So again, so this short video just want to make sure you're aware this is what we have, and it's totally optional, okay, whether or not you use it. But I do find it's gonna be very useful, not just for this project, not just for this class. If you're very comfortable searching or playing around with this data services or the database, it's gonna help you tremendously in your future career, because you really just playing around with a large amount of data, okay? Which is essential for today's, kind of world, business world. Everything is depending on big data, and this is where we have the big data, okay? So as I mentioned, I will email you the document with the username, the login information, so you can just follow the login information to use the services. I will also email you a document that detail what I basically said in this video, just in case you're those people who actually prefer to read rather than just watch the video, okay? So let me just say, I'm gonna pause sharing. Okay, all right, so that's it. And